All right, Teacher Think here, and today we're going to talk about the math facts. And by the math facts, I mean things like 2 times 3, 7 plus 9, etc. Those are the math facts, and this is really for everybody because it's thought of maybe as like a second or third grade, fourth grade activity or something, and it's not. They're really important, and they put your child at a huge advantage if they can get them memorized and memorize them automatically. Okay, and the reason is simple. It's just like walking or doing any task. If you can do certain parts of it automatically, you can devote all your mental energy towards other things. So as the math gets harder, they may have other things to think about, be it algebra, be it fractions, negative numbers, all kinds of things. They'll be at a great advantage if they're not struggling to remember what 7 times 3 is or 2 times 4, reaching for the calculator, wasting time, wasting mental effort before they get to the point where they're actually trying to solve a problem. That should be something that is in the past, totally gone, absolutely automatic, just like walking, just like writing, just like any automatic task, putting on your shoes, okay? So that, putting on your shoes, yeah, that might be a kindergarten activity, but it's something you need every single day. And if you went through life kind of struggling with how to tie your laces, how I think you get my point. So this is true even for, 6th graders and 8th graders and 10th graders and seniors. Because some people have neglected to learn their math facts, and it's never too late to begin. So I want to just give you some strategies on how to defeat the math facts and get them under your belt so that they're really automatic. First thing to remember is that flashcards are really the best way to do it. Flashcards work. Start out with a few flashcards, build them up. And I think that as a general idea, the 2 or 3 pile method really works. You go through the math facts, you go through the facts, and then if they're really automatic, you put them in one pile. And if they're kind of something they still have to think about, you put them in another pile. And then the next day when they practice, maybe they don't have to do that really automatic one. And you just practice the ones that they're having a little more difficulty with. And hopefully you slowly move them on to the automatic pile. But every 2 or 3 days, take the automatic pile out and test to make sure they're still there. Then make a third pile. Maybe those are like once a week type practice. And keep coming back to it. Persistence is really the main thing with math facts. Most kids don't just automatically learn the math facts. I've never really seen a kid who's just that smart kid who just knows the math facts really easily and it's just not a problem. They get to the point where it isn't a problem for them, maybe a little quicker sometimes. It's mostly because they've done the practice. But it does take more practice for some people than others. And what you have to do is just power through that and just no matter how long it takes, get to that point where they're automatic. So the flashcards work. Now I've got some programs here with games and online stuff. That's also pretty good. I think writing stuff out is even better. But let's just start right with the basics. And this is your basic math facts table, up to 10. So this is the basic thing that they ought to have memorized. Certainly by 3rd grade, up to the 10s. Beyond that, they should definitely go up to the 11s and 12s. And if they're complaining, you might just mention that in China they go through the 15s, have them memorized up through the 15s, and there's a lot to be said for that. But all right, so how do we approach this? Well, to me, the most important thing, I hope you can see my pointer here. I think it's really good to focus on the difficult ones first and really try to get those out of the way. Because if you get those out of the way, then everything's really downhill. And I can tell you from many years of experience that the number one most forgotten, most difficult to remember math fact is 8 times 7 is 56, right here. 8 times 7 is 56. People always forget that particular one. It's the hardest one. somehow there's just not as much of an anchor with anything for them that, it doesn't really sound like 8 or 7. It just sounds kind of far away from everything. And it'd be like 4, because if you had 4, you'd get 60, or I'm not sure exactly what it is, but that one is always the hardest one. And if you can get that one down and just keep after it, with my class, if we'd be going around or something, I might just ask them out of the blue, so what's 7 times 8? Until they got it. And eventually they will. Okay, I think after that, your normal progression in the first grade is going to go from like do the 1s, do the 2s, do the 3s. That's a great way to introduce it. But as far as practicing, especially if you have to come back to it and relearn it, they will forget these over the summer. They might forget them a few weeks after you've taught them. The best way to do it is really to come back to the hard ones. And I would say that the hardest ones are the 7s. After that, I would say the 6s or the 8s. Probably the 6s actually. And then the 8s. And 5s are pretty easy. 4s are slightly harder. 3s aren't that hard. Only when you get up into where like 7s, because 7s are the hardest all the time. 2s are easy, 1s are easy. Eventually, those ought to just get retired as things that you're even practicing. But so 7 times 8 is 56. Now, don't forget to ask them what 8 times 7 is, because don't put it beyond them to not realize that 7 times 8 is the same thing as 8 times 7. That really is a mental leap for kids, and a lot of them just don't realize that they're the same question. And you can literally ask them what's 7 times 8, and they've got it memorized, and they'll say 56. And then, 2 questions later, you say, okay, so what's 8 times 7? I don't know. And then you might say, well, what's 7 times 8? Well, that's 56. So it's still not clicking. So anyway, just make sure you ask it both ways. That's really kind of more important than you might realize. Also, big thing here is, and we'll see it with the rest of the ones that I've got here. If you take a diagonal line going from 1 down to the right, you get 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36. Those are the squares. Those are 2 times 2 and 3 times 3 and 4 times 4. That all by itself is a really good thing to have memorized as well. That will come in very handy for when they're learning their algebra. Okay, so this one's really simple. This is the basics, and you can find blank ones online. You could just make one. It's not that hard. Make a table in Word or something and just fill in the 1 through 10. Have them write it out. Writing it out, I think, is good. Here's another one. Okay, this is going up through 12s. What I like about this is that it's got the red ones highlighted as the squares. And, it's not really as hard to get up to the 12s as some kids are going to think. They're going to think, oh, boy, is this ever going to end? And, well, I mean, the 11s are pretty easy, let's face it. And then you have to learn a little bit more with the 12s, but that's not a whole lot after you've done this entire, the whole rest of this thing. Here's another little thing to think about, because there's so many little patterns you can find on the math, on the times table. Here's a good one to just sort of discuss a little bit. If you start here with 3 times 0 is 0, and then you go up to the right, you get 0, 2, 2, 0. Then go down one to where the 4 is. 4 times 0, it goes 0, 3, 4, 3, 0. Okay, so in other words, it sort of, there's a peak kind of at 4, whereas here the 2 repeated. That's going to keep happening. Start with the 5, go up, you get 2 6s in a row, and then it goes down. You go to 6, and you go up, and you get 9, not 2 in a row. It just sort of comes to a peak and goes down. A little interesting thing like that. So this one's, for a little bit older. This one, this is up through the 15s, same concept. It's definitely, your school is probably not going to ask your child to learn up through the 15s. If you really want to go get them, I would practice that with them, and just say this is, okay, yeah, they learn up through the 12s, and that's what they say is good enough, and, it's good enough is what everybody does, and who does better, the people who do up through 15. So that as a student, it's a good attitude to be thinking like, well, if you meet expectations, you're doing the minimum. You're doing what everybody does, and you stand out by doing a little extra, asked for or not. Here's one that is, don't laugh at me, because it's actually pretty useful for like up to 8th grade in high school, because this can really help you with things like factoring. Like, I wouldn't probably ask someone to memorize this entire thing. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who do have it all memorized, but I would, if they're factoring equations, in algebra and stuff, and you need to think of what numbers are multiplied, they start using bigger numbers than just what you find on the times table. And I'm going to give you, here's one in particular, like 34 right there. 17 times 2 is 34. That, for some reason, all by itself is a good math fact to have. Just out of this ocean. They use that all the time. 34 divided by what? I mean, it's an even number. It shouldn't be that hard. But they'd like to start using a few more that are harder than just the facts table, the multiplication table, but not too ridiculous, So if you're factoring a number, they may not be asking you something like 264, which is 24 times 11. They may not be going that far with it. That's actually not even that hard, but it can also help for them to figure out whether it's possible to break a number down, because this kind of stands as a list of your most common composite numbers, right? There won't be prime numbers on this other than 2, obviously. Because anything that's multiplied by 2 numbers is by its very nature a composite number and not a prime. So when they come across, say, this number, 133, that kind of looks prime to most people. I mean, kind of does to me. You can put in 11, it's not really working, and nothing's really working and everything, because, it's 7 times 19. That's not going to be that easy to think of. But you can say, all right, well, I can't think of it, so what is it? I mean, it's 133 on this someplace, and well, there it is. Then you've got your factors. So, that's kind of a good thing to maybe, tape into the back of your algebra book as you get older. All right, now, we've done that. So I'd just like to go over a couple of websites that I dug through, and I think are pretty good. Okay, I think these are pretty good, because there are a lot of math facts practices websites out there, and I found that a lot of them try to do too much. They have like all it's designed to go from just math facts all the way through high school. So they've got radicals in there, and you can get can be a little confusing. And a lot of the game ones are pretty lame, in my opinion. This one I kind of liked. My first impression was that, looks kind of simplistic and lame, but I tried a couple of them, and I kind of got into them a little bit. Like, let's see, I think we've got, this like cannonball one was pretty neat. I kind of like this one. You solve a few, that's loading up, of course, but you solve a few problems, and then, once you've done that, you have this big slingshot with cannonballs, and you try to knock down a castle. So you can see I was already working at it, right? So you get 3 times 6 is 18. Blah, 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 go through. I won't play the whole game, but eventually you get this slingshot and catapult it over. There's some other ones like that. And what I like about this, you can play with multiplayer. Play more than one person, which I really kind of like. So that's a pretty good one. This one too, all right? Look at this. 4 operations. It's not all cluttered up with the 10 billion different things. You hit that, you got multiplication, let's say up through 12s. And my name, I don't know, me. All right, let's do like, this one's a little bit more grown up. So let's pretend we're in the, 7th or 8th grade, okay? How many do we want to do? 100. All right, so, 0 times 12 is 0. Okay, very good. 11 times 0 is 0. Yeah, right. Not too challenging so far. 4 times 0 is 0. I don't know why this is so easy. But here's what I like about it. This is the actual way that they set up the numbers on a number pad, right? They start with 7, 8, 9 at the top, so you're kind of learning that. And it's also, at a certain age, it's nice to get past like the games. Those will get boring. Those will get a little embarrassing, that kind of thing. So in a way, that's a good one. Now look, this one, they'll keep pushing you to sign up and everything, and it tracks your progress, and I think they probably do a good job of that. But you can do that. Next one I found is pretty good is this. Also very straightforward, very simple. Let's do subtraction. Let's see what we get here. I think it's going slow actually because I am also videoing. But all right, so let's do easy. Yeah, we're going to skip that for now. All right, so 25 minus 14 is 12. Okay, so you click it in there and, you keep going. It'll go down, and then as you get more right, it goes up, and, I guess you get 20 questions or something like that. But it's nice and straightforward. My one complaint is that this isn't done the way a keypad is, but, who cares? This one's, without any of the fluff, so that's a little bit more grown up, and it's a good, just very straightforward math site. All right, Math Fact Cafe. This is going to take a little bit more time to explain. This is what we used to use in school to come up with sheets. Okay, so that we would hand out and actually drill students on. So I'd just like to show you how it works. You hit the basic facts, and then you want to do, let's just say we want to do multiplication. We'll say that name, date, and score. Probably not going to need that for home. Number the problems. They'll number them or not. Let's not number them. Don't allow numbers of negative. I won't explain everything. Most of it is pretty straightforward. So the minimum, let's not say 1 for multiplication. That's too easy. Let's say at least 3. Maximum range, let's say it'll go up to 12. Oh, well, no. We want it to go up. We want this to be kind of high, actually, because I'm just going to put in 200, so anything will work. Okay, because we, all right, no, for this one, we're going to put in 12. And the answer range should be, you don't have to fill it in, actually, but you can limit it to make them easier. But, if you're going to fill it in for math, you have to predict what answers you could get. And you can get 12 times 12 maximum for this, so which would be 144, so that would be your top. But you can just put in 200 or put in like, anywhere between 8 and 200, so you don't get things that are too easy, or maybe you do want them easy, whatever. All right, no, up here it says no negative results for subtraction. You may want negative results after a while because you can uncheck it, if you're doing subtraction. And you will be able to practice your integers with that. Display problems horizontally, so they'll show them this way rather than straight up and down. I'm going to leave it this way so it's up and down. Box minimum, max, just leave that alone. Division answers, normal 5 decimal. You've got a whole range. This is just for if you're putting in division. You've got some choices there. All right, the layout. All right, number of rows is how many you have going down. It really should say columns. Okay, so that's kind of a little bit. No, that is the number of going across. So I'm going to put like 20 and the problems per row as 5 so that you have 100 facts on this page. All right, and then you do this and you get this. And you can print that out. And, when we taught, the goal was to do 100 of these in 2 minutes. Yeah, you make up your own goals. You can do fewer problems. You can make them bigger or smaller. Text size can be anything up to jumbo. And you can make your own sheet. And I do believe in the idea of writing it out. I think it gets in your head better than typing or clicking on the screen. But anyway, that's a good option. It's just very easy to make math fact sheets. And as you can see from the homepage, there's more you can do with it, but you don't have to. So just to get my face out of there. Number of rows was 20. Problems per row was 5. So, you can make it. Let's just try another one just for the heck of it. We'll do 10 and then 5 and then no, we'll do 4. And then we'll make these jumbo and see what that looks like. All right, yeah, so there we go. All right, so anyway, you've got your options here, and you can experiment with some other stuff where you've got missing numbers and stuff. But the first ones are your basic things, and just for your parameters, if you're doing addition and stuff, just be careful that you don't have numbers that are too big, because you might start getting like 59 plus 37 if you put the minimum of like 10 and maximum of like 50 or 100 or something, and that's fine if they're up for it, but you just want to know that that's what that's for, and to keep an eye on it. So that's I hope it will be helpful for the math facts, and don't give up. That's the main thing. What happens is that teachers always say, you should memorize the math facts. And most of the time, parents won't do anything about it. Now, I agree that it is the teacher's responsibility to teach the math facts. They should. But if the child isn't really fast enough with it and is forgetting them a lot, eventually, realistically, it just does come down to the parent. And are you going to want to make sure your kid knows the math facts? And nobody else is going to do it but you at that point. You can say something to the teacher or the school and see where that goes, but the school kind of stops teaching them after a while in general. Any school, I mean, and it might be falling on deaf ears. So it's just a matter of whether you want your kid to be prepared in that very simple way. And it takes persistence. You just have to keep after it until they get it. So a little bit of practice every day without fail. Just keep doing it, and they will eventually get them. I certainly did. I didn't drill anyone to death, but we drilled very frequently in my class with math facts. And by the end of the year, I would have almost everybody getting perfect scores on their math facts, and it's a huge help. But it's something that it should also be maintained later. And it's also, I'm sorry, but it's embarrassing when you're talking to a ninth grader who can't think of what 4 times 4 is, or 7 times 3 or something. I've talked to people where, wait a minute, what's, 6 times 9 again? It's 54. And they put it in their calculator. There's this idea that, with calculators, this doesn't matter. Well, if you want to waste your time every single time putting in like 7 times 4 to figure that out, okay, then you're hampering yourself. That's not the kind of thing that calculators are for. They're for things like calculus. That's a legitimate place to be using calculators. Trigonometry. That's a legitimate place. You ought to know how to use your tables in trigonometry, but after a while you need that. But that's predicated upon knowing your basic math facts. And it's a major thing that will get you to be able to estimate problems, which is really one of the number one goals of teaching math, is to be a decent estimator. So you just know whether something's expensive or how it compares with something else, and proportionality and everything. And those numbers need to be in your head. They can't always be something you're going to be going to a calculator for. So enough said on that. It takes persistence. Good luck with that. And I hope this was helpful to you.